Orchids make excellent vivarium or terrarium plants. They have beautiful foliage and equally fascinating flowers. This not only helps to create an aesthetically pleasing environment within an enclosure for yourself and others to admire, and for your reptile or amphibian to enjoy also, but will additionally provide them with, I'm sure, some much appreciated cover which will help them to feel more secure and provide them with areas in which they can obscure themselves from view outside of their usual hides. This can be particularly important when using glass enclosures with your shy or secretive reptiles, for example. After many weeks of researching this topic, I have come up with a list of orchids that may do well in vivariums, as long as their conditions regarding requirements related to temperature and humidity are met. I will more than happily provide this list willingly on request, so if anyone is interested in seeing it, please leave a comment or send a message to either my email address, which is provided in the video description on the right hand side of the current screen, or to my YouTube inbox. Orchids are one of the most imaginative flowers available. In bloom they provide majestic beauty and provide an almost endless variety of flowers, growth forms and adaptations. As almost no other plant, orchids are widespread all over the world and show a very high level of adaptation to the environment or the insects that provide fertilization. They are cosmopolitan and therefore occur in almost every habitat apart from deserts and glaciers. Orchid species can be really specialized in that just one type of insect, or sometimes even just a male insect, may provide fertilization. Some orchids can be terrestrial, meaning ground living, or epiphytic, and for example will live in treetops with their roots clinging to the bark to absorb nutrients and water. Most tropical rainforest orchids are epiphytic and rely on trees to provide coverage for their roots. However, orchids are not parasitic, as they only use the tree as a place to live. Others may get their nutrients from dead or decaying matter due to their relationship with fungi, and they may grow on rocks or live in very little soil. Depending on the type of orchid you are attempting to grow, they will require either high levels of light and ventilation, where they would naturally be found high in the trees, or either low light levels and high humidity, where they would typically be found on the ground. Now, knowing and understanding these optimum necessities, along with the average predicted growth of your orchid, will ultimately help you to find an appropriate location to place it within your chosen enclosure. Preferably the latter types that I have just mentioned are grown in naturalistic looking vivariums with rainforest-like conditions, which as one example makes them perfect for dart frogs, since these conditions match and mimic the frog's preferred conditions the most and are most ideally suited to such an ecosystem. The easiest species of orchid to succeed in growing when using a vivarium or terrarium settings are often miniatures, or those which demand high temperatures, shade and humidity. Personally, I would recommend that you choose hybrids rather than wild species, as they are easier to grow. Adequate and sufficient ventilation is, in my opinion, vitally important for successful orchid culture, but especially so within an enclosure. Therefore, growing orchids within your terrarium or vivariums allows you to judge the quality of the air content and observe the conditions within the specific enclosure more thoroughly, with the use of a visual aid to guide your verdict. The other difference between orchids can be having either a sympodal or monopodal growth form. Sympodal orchids grow new shoots from the bottom of another shoot, whereas monopodal orchids grow new leaves from one shoot, such as the case of Phalaenopsis. So thank you for watching, and please leave your constructive criticism, and if choose, please subscribe.